round 10 of our season 3 here on our F1 Manager save. Now, if you didn't watch the last episode, go back and watch that one. It was a decent Grand Prix in Montreal. As we can see, Max Verstappen did get the win. Checo Perez in second, Albon in third. It was 7th and 8th for our two guys. Didn't quite get the strategy right at times, but I was quite happy with the performance as a whole. It must be said, standings-wise, we are still doing okay. Constructors-wise, we are down to 5th. Aston Martin managing to overtake us in the last Grand Prix. We are not out of sight of even P2 at this moment in time. Driver standings-wise, Max Verstappen is leading the way from George Russell. Lando Norris is still in P3, but Sainz, Perez and Leclerc all in striking distance. Pierre Gasly is down in P12 at this moment in time. Just to quickly show you the driver standings for the F2, the constructors, of course, and then the F3 constructors and drivers. Ollie Gray doing rather well once again. Now, this weekend, we head to Austria, and this is a sprint weekend, but it is also a Grand Prix that I rather fancy winning. And let me share with you just why that is. Because if we have a little look, 71 laps round here, our expected strategy is a 2-stop. You can try a 1-stop, of course, as well. Car attributes. High-speed cornering. Remember that, because if I show you our car analysis at this moment in time, what are we best at? In fact, we're the best on the grid at high-speed cornering. So I really fancy us for a decent result here today. So I'm going to get through practice. Let's get into qualifying. And you know what? Let's try and put it on pole position. Final laps in Q3. And it must be said, we have been rather quick this weekend. Not quite put it together in Q3 as of yet. But Lando Norris crosses the line and goes provisional P2. He's on the front row. Pierre Gasly, on the other hand, has not quite got the final lap in. It must be said, Lando Norris has got better suspension on his car this weekend. But will Lando Norris manage to split the two Red Bulls? Let's have a look. No, George Russell does go ahead, but Lando Norris will start tomorrow's sprint in P3. Max Verstappen looks in imperious form, but we do look the second best car with Lando Norris. Let's get to the sprint strategy. Right then, guys, sprint race it is, and we are going to set both cars on the soft compounder tyre. Ignore Pierre Gasly's estimated tyre wear, because that's obviously wrong. No, Lando Norris and Pierre Gasly, P3, P8. We are going to be starting on a fresh set of soft compound tyres on both. See how this lasts. I'm not adverse to going soft, medium in the race, so let's just bear that in mind. And we're expecting rain as well on Sunday, so this could be a very good opportunity to score some decent points. Let's get straight into it.
We're ready for 24 laps around the Red Bull Ring in what should be a great sprint.
Drivers certainly don't shy away from overtaking on the circuit, meaning we should be in for a hotly contested competition here in Austria.
A sprint victory and points up for grabs right here. Here in Austria, we're all ready to go for the sprint. And it's lights out, and away we go.
And away we go. And Norris and Gasly are the only ones on soft compound tyres, so we will be looking to make moves early doors there, and Lando Norris certainly looks like he is doing. We've had a car off straight away. Please tell me that wasn't an Andretti Cadillac. It doesn't look like it was. Lando Norris is looking like he's going for the move round the outside. Let's just have a look at this crash into turn 1 straight away. It was Oscar Piastri in the McLaren. Let's have a little look at this. He does brake, but then just catches the back of the Alfa Romeo Haas and then compounds it by going into him once again. But Lando Norris looking rather promising early doors here, and he's actually looking like he's going for a move on Max Verstappen. Can't quite get it done early doors, but he wants to get past this Red Bull and then sprint away. If we can use these tyres early doors here, this would be absolutely perfect. We are going to put the overtake aggression on high because, of course, the DRS will start coming into its own. But at the moment, Lando Norris doing particularly well. And we have had a penalty. I believe that is for Oscar Piastri. It is, who's now at the back of the grid. But as we come towards the end of lap 1, Lando Norris is in P2 from Verstappen and looks like he's now going for the move as we ride on board. Will he go for the move here? It doesn't look like he will, but he is stalking the Red Bull of Max Verstappen, and maybe this is the moment. He's looking left and right, DRS wide open. Can he get round the outside of this Red Bull? I would suggest he possibly can. And let's have a look into the braking zone. He keeps it around the outside. Max Verstappen does get that DRS second helping of it, and that'll help him stay in front. We're just going to calm it down a little bit on the tyres now. But Pierre Gasly as well, looking to make moves early doors. And he's up against Lance Stroll. He's just having to sit in behind at the moment, but he's got to make the move shortly. He joins us back on lap 4, and as you can see, Lando Norris is trying to go for the move. This time he timed that DRS beautifully, and now he's passed Max Verstappen, and we are now going to be trying to break the DRS of Max Verstappen. 1.7 seconds is the gap to Russell. Meanwhile, Pierre Gasly is doing everything he possibly can to get past these Aston Martins. It's not quite working at this moment. I can't see us pulling away from Max Verstappen, but if we can just keep DRS training each other, that would be absolutely ideal. But Pierre Gasly's got to start making some moves and getting through this pack. Lap 8, Lando Norris is leading the Grand Prix from Max Verstappen. They are just DRS training each other and pulling out a nice gap, it must be said, on George Russell. But the man we're looking at the moment is Pierre Gasly, because he's stalking these Aston Martins, trying to get past. He's looking left and right. Pierre Gasly can certainly get past these cars. Is he going to go for the move here? He isn't. As we switch back to the television camera, now he's got the run up to turn 2 and turn 3. He's boxed in. I mean, this is tactical driving from the Aston Martins. They're just putting a roadblock in front of Pierre Gasly, who's trying to go down the inside. Can't quite manage it. Esteban Ocon, his old teammate, is behind him, but look at this. It's just a DRS train which Gasly's trying to get through, and as we cut back to the front, Verstappen and Norris are still going side by side. Lando Norris, the worst thing he could do here is crash out. I'd rather him just take his time, stick with Max Verstappen. We will get to the end. Pierre Gasly, if we could get past these two Aston Martins, that would be ideal. And of course, when I said he needs to get past these two Aston Martins, Pierre Gasly has got past the two Aston Martins. He's done very well. I must apologise for the lack of highlights in these sprints. We don't get them come up at the top like we do in the feature races, but Pierre Gasly now is pushing on and trying to catch up to the back of Carlos Sainz. We're going full attack mode on the tyres. Meanwhile, Lando Norris and Max Verstappen still at it at the front, but Lando being able to manage his tyres a bit better. It must be said, the Red Bull's tyres towards the end will be a lot better, but Pierre Gasly's pulled out a 1 second gap on Alexander Albon at the moment, and he's doing his utmost to chase after Carlos Sainz, and he can see Russell up front as well. So at the moment, it's P5 for Gasly and P1 for Lando Norris. Lap 18, and Verstappen has pulled out the gap that he needed because Max Verstappen has got a little bit of a helping of DRS on the previous lap, and it must be said, Lando Norris's tyres are dying. I reckon about 18 laps is probably enough for the soft compound tyres tomorrow. Gasly, he's got a right fight with the Aston Martins, but I reckon P5 Pierre Gasly could get. Lando Norris, on the other hand, I think P2 is where we will be, but Pierre Gasly is going to have a right ding-dong battle with a few Aston Martins towards the end of this race. We have got a crash on circuit. Let's have a little look at this one. It is Checo Perez in the Ferrari. Let's see what happens here for Checo Perez. He just crashes in. I mean, we've seen Checo Perez in real life be a little bit reckless at times. But Checo Perez certainly smashing off the Alfa Romeo Haas there. It's despair in the Ferrari garage. I don't believe it's brought out a safety car, which it hasn't. We've just got a yellow flag. Gasly is down to 6th at the moment, but his tyres are very much dead and buried. He's just got a couple of laps to go. If Pierre Gasly can somehow stay with Esteban Ocon, that will help him massively. Looking at the tyre wear now, everybody's tyres are pretty much dead. It must be said, Lando Norris is getting a little bit of help from the McLaren of, I believe that is Oscar Piastri, which is pulling him closer to Max Verstappen, but he gets through beautifully well. And Pierre Gasly, the longer he can hold on to Ocon, the better chance he's got of securing P6. Coming up to the line, Max Verstappen has won the sprint from Lando Norris, but it's all eyes on Pierre Gasly, who is having to defend like a lion from the two Aston Martins. But at the moment, Pierre Gasly is just doing enough. They will both get DRS on him, but cannot get past him. And P6 for Pierre Gasly. That is a good points haul indeed for the Andretti Cadillacs. So say we got overtaken by Aston Martin. We've already gained some points back today. It's great work from Lando Norris. And let's get to the results now, but that puts us in a very nice position for Sunday's feature race in heavy rain here at the Red Bull Ring. And so the sprint results are Max Verstappen, as we saw, winning the race. So 104.2 was the fastest lap from Norris, George Russell in P3, Sainz, Ocon, then Gasly in P6. The two Aston Martins of Albon and Stroll who got quite a bit of airtime in that sprint race. Perez in P9 despite his smash with the Alfa Romeo, and Zhou Guanyu in P10. It must be said, it wasn't a good day at all for Theo Pourchaire, who's not having as many good days in these last few races, so something to look out for there. But let's have a look at the strategy, because we want to topple Max Verstappen here at the Red Bull Ring. Right then, guys, it's going to be a spicy end to the end of this race. Let's just have a little look at this. So we're going to start on the soft compound tyres for both cars, then onto the mediums. That should get us to the wet period. Now, if we just go into the strategy screen, we are expecting it to get very, very wet indeed. Whether we go inters or wets is something we will look at, but towards the end it's going to be very, very wet indeed. But we're hoping we can pull out the gap, get ourselves a nice window, and then hopefully just see it through to the end. And we'll probably copy what a couple of other cars do, whether we go wets or inters. I'm guessing it's going to be wets, but P2 and P6, let's hope for a win here today. Both cars on a fresh set of softs to start. Let's get that P1 early.
Here among the Austrian mountains, the grid is now set for the 71 laps of the Red Bull Ring. Now I wonder, will things be going Lando Norris's way in this race?
They're in second place on the grid, but that could so easily change in the first few seconds after lights out.
Here we go. It's time to go racing. It's the race we've all been waiting for. It's the Austrian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
And away we go. It's not the best start for Lando Norris, it must be said. Max Verstappen did get away the better of the two, but it must be said, George Russell's on that medium compounded tyre as well. Let's have a look at what we can do here. Lando Norris has got to ensure that he stays in front of George Russell, and it doesn't look like he's managed to do at all. Lando Norris has had a shocking start, dive down the inside, nearly clips Max Verstappen, but does just manage to secure P2 for the moment. We should be able to push away from George Russell, but George Russell's absolutely going for it early doors here. Pierre Gasly's had a more comfortable start, should I say, in P6. He's right on the back of Carlos Sainz in that Mercedes. Lando Norris going a little bit defensive, but he's keeping his eyes on the prize, and that prize is Max Verstappen in that Red Bull with the number 1 on it. We need to break the DRS of George Russell early doors here. That will help us massively in this race. And Lando Norris taking a different line to Max Verstappen, but Russell hanging on nicely. Pierre Gasly, on the other hand, is sat in behind a Mercedes of Carlos Sainz. Will he fancy a move here down the inside? It doesn't look like he will. Lando Norris just starting now to pull the gap on George Russell. I'm going to leave him on, deploying the ERS for both cars early doors in this race, because we need to make a gap to that second Red Bull. I don't want to be dragging George Russell along. Meanwhile, Pierre Gasly just sitting in behind Carlos Sainz. Can't quite get a move done early doors here, so it is on lap 2, Verstappen from Norris. Then comes Russell, 0.6 of a second further back. Verstappen and Norris are trying to pull away. It's now up to 0.7 of a second. We're pushing to get away from that second Red Bull. Gasly's broke a second on Lance Stroll behind. We're just going to drop him on to aggressive on the tyre wear. But Lando Norris now nearly broke the DRS of George Russell. That's key. And as we're on lap 3, Lando Norris decided he was sat behind Max Verstappen for a little bit too long. He got the DRS right down and up into the tight right-hander, into turn 3, and got the job done. Lovely move from Lando Norris, now leading this Grand Prix. Russell is a further second back. It looks already like it's going to be a battle between Verstappen and Norris today. Pierre Gasly attacking Carlos Sainz as we switch back through the live action. It's a lovely bit of work from Pierre Gasly, who is still side by side with the Mercedes of Carlos Sainz. It's side by side all the way here. We're not going to watch the replay because he's not got the job done just yet, has Pierre Gasly. And now coming in to this double right-hander. I would expect he's going to be now closing down Esteban Ocon at a rate of knots. We are just going to calm it down on the fuel a little bit in a moment as well for both cars, but Pierre Gasly won't get DRS. Crucially, Carlos Sainz will on that medium compounder tyre, and the Mercedes is getting towed along nicely by George Russell, and Lando Norris and Verstappen are both at it all the way here up towards turn 3 once again, and he's got the inside line, has Lando Norris. Just got to keep in front of George Russell. Pierre Gasly, he's making moves. He's just got past Esteban Ocon, his old teammate, and he can see in front of him now George Russell, who's dropped off the pace a little bit. He was lightning quick at the start, George Russell, it must be said, but now Pierre Gasly well in the fight. He's currently in P4, and he might be in P3 very, very quickly, because as he crosses that DRS detection point, he's got it. Will he have DRS up to turn 3? Won't. It will be George Russell, but Norris and Verstappen exchanging places once again. It's not the worst thing in the world for Lando Norris if he can just sit in behind this Red Bull of Max Verstappen. We do have a yellow flag on circuit. Gasly still pushing hard to attack George Russell, and will now, he didn't get DRS in fact. Let's have a little look at Yuki Tsunoda locking up into turn 1. I bet that McLaren was thinking, oh dear, this could be a bad situation, but Tsunoda did lock up on those medium compounder tyres into the runoff area and did rejoin quite safely. It's all happening here at the Red Bull Ring. Norris and Verstappen are definitely the front runners for this Grand Prix. It's just about, I think it's going to come down to two things this Grand Prix. A, do we get that tyre selection right at the end? And B, do we get the pit stops right in terms of the time on the pit stops? We know how operationally efficient the Red Bulls are. Let's hope that the Andretti Cadillacs are feeling that way as well today. Lap 7. 10, Pierre Gasly doing Pierre Gasly things. He's attacking George Russell, and with the DRS round the outside, George Russell, my word, gets close to nearly punting him into the gravel trap there. But Pierre Gasly is making sure that he's in the fight with his teammate today. And we have got two Red Bulls versus two Andrettis. It's Red Bull versus Andretti at the Red Bull Ring. Lap 15, we've got a crash on circuit, and it is Théo Pourchaire. I said he'd not had the best couple of races recently. And Théo Pourchaire into turn 1. I mean, that's Daniel Ricciardo's fault. I would suggest turning in there. He nearly comes back onto the track and punts an Audi into the wall, but look at this lady here. She's full of anticipation, and then she's full of frustration and anger and many other things as well on that pit wall at the moment. It must be said, I'm not feeling very angry or frustrated at the moment. I'm just enjoying watching my two drivers fighting with Red Bulls at the front of this grid. I said this would be our Grand Prix today. I'm hoping that I'm going to be absolutely right. We have got to get to lap 24-ish for the tyres. Pierre Gasly, like I said, tagging onto the back of George Russell, actually just lost pace with him, which we're now going to try and rectify, because George Russell now is starting to catch the front two on these medium compounder tyres. Early pit stop for Max Verstappen on lap 19. He's in to the pits. We are going to push on this lap, and then we are going to cover off Max Verstappen. We are going to go onto the medium compounder tyre. Where is Max Verstappen going to come out? Is he going to come out in traffic, Max Verstappen? He's trundling down the pit lane. He can see an Audi and an Alfa Romeo, and now Lando Norris has been told, you've got to get on with it, sunshine. We need to cover off this Red Bull. Gasly still fighting with the Red Bull of George Russell. And on lap 19, into the pits comes Lando Norris. We have got to respond to the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. Where is the Red Bull of Max Verstappen? He's just coming through sector 3. Lando Norris is trundling down the pit lane. In all my days, please get this pit stop right. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's 3.1 seconds. I reckon Verstappen's might have been quicker as he comes around the final couple of corners. Lando Norris, where is he going to come out? We are looking for Max Verstappen, who's just coming in to turn 1. Lando Norris is out, and he's just about kept pace with him. Verstappen was in front, I think, when they pit. So now Lando Norris can push and try and get back in touch. What he doesn't need to do is lose a position to that Alfa Romeo just behind. Gasly will be in a couple of laps' time. Lap 21, into the pits comes Pierre Gasly. It must be said, Lando Norris is now tagging onto the back of Verstappen, lovely. But Pierre Gasly is in. The Ferrari boys are coming out for their man, but we think we can get in nicely here with Pierre Gasly. Let's hope we have a decent stop. Is it going to be a good stop? 2.993, sub 3 seconds. We'll take that as we see the McLaren boys coming out into the pit lane as well. Now, I reckoned I got a nice gap for Pierre Gasly, and I'm certainly hoping that I have done. I can see a McLaren of Magnussen, which I was hoping to get out in front of, and I've not quite managed it. But that being said, I reckon we will get past him rather quickly as we now go aggressive on the tyres, and we also go for the high overtake aggression. Lando Norris now just settling in behind Max Verstappen, and he's got to get past Albon and a couple of these runners that we're going to come up to avoid losing time to Max Verstappen. Lap 22, it's all looking good at Andretti Cadillac. And you've got to say, Lando Norris has been the star of the show for most of this season, but we are now catching a glimpse of Pierre Gasly as he goes around the outside of Kevin Magnussen in that McLaren. It's lovely work from him, and he's straight away on his outlap making overtakes. That just shows the confidence that these two boys have got in the car. Albon's just pit. Verstappen has got DRS on that Williams. So this could be absolutely crucial because both of these cars are going to get DRS. The Williams hasn't, and it must be said, Max Verstappen is going to get past this Williams quicker than Lando Norris is, and this could spell danger for Lando Norris. He's got to get past him, but of course that Williams will be dragged along by Max Verstappen here and DRS, so crucial that Lando makes light work of this. Pierre Gasly on the other hand now up behind Nick De Vries. Ocon leads from Russell, but of course both yet to pit. Pierre Gasly managing to get past Nick De Vries. We knew he would. Down the inside it was very, very aggressive, but he got the car stopped and got the move done. Beautiful work from Pierre Gasly. And now Lando Norris, we've had a couple of cars pit. He has got a 1.7 second gap that he now needs to bridge though, so we are going to push a little bit now to try and catch up to the back of Max Verstappen. We do have a yellow flag on circuit. I'm just keeping an eye on who that is possibly for at the moment. It's Tsunoda locking up. We'll have a little look at this. Tsunoda really struggling with that Hugo Boss at the moment to try and keep it on the circuit. We can actually see Pierre Gasly, I believe, in front there. He's just not managing to get that car stopped this Grand Prix, it must be said. So Pierre Gasly now at this moment is pushing along to try and catch up to the back of Zhou Guanyu, and Lando Norris is giving it the absolute beans to push up to the back of Max Verstappen because we want that DRS. Lap 26, George Russell is in to the pits. It must be said, Norris has caught straight back up to the back of Pierre Gasly, and now George Russell onto a set of soft compound tyres. I would imagine he's going to be pretty rapid for a few laps as he's dropping back down. Where is Pierre Gasly? Coming down the start-finish straight, he's well past George Russell there. So Pierre Gasly now up in to P4. Should hopefully be catching the car in front. Ocon's causing some grief on those soft compound tyres at this moment in time, and he's got DRS and has got past Pierre Gasly. Will now hopefully get DRS down this next straight, which he certainly will. Lando Norris now back in touch with Max Verstappen and just charging up his battery a little bit towards, so we'll have a bit more battery towards the end. But George Russell comes out 6.5 seconds behind Pierre Gasly, who's now just tagging onto the back of the soft compound runner of Esteban Ocon. Do you know when we said Yuki Tsunoda's been struggling all afternoon? Well, he's just gone and done this. Yuki Tsunoda, you shouldn't laugh, but he has had an absolutely shocking afternoon. He's sorry. My word, if he were my driver, he'd be more than sorry. Lando Norris has just checked on if he's okay. I mean, it's not even a surprise to these guys anymore that Yuki Tsunoda can't stop the car. But it is a VSC. It does allow us to get a little bit of fuel back, of course. And also charge the batteries up on both cars. So that works nicely for us. Obviously, we're driving to a Delta. So this works well. We can go a bit lighter on the tyres as well. So we'll come back when we're back to green flag running. But yeah, at the moment, Norris just keep in touch. We are back to green flag running on lap 30. We've managed to save some fuel. And now we are well back in touch with Max Verstappen. I don't even need to push at this moment in time. It's been a long time since I've been in this sort of situation with drivers and cars that we are comfortably hanging onto the back of Red Bulls. Yeah, it's a nice position to be in, it must be said. We are going to look at what the other teams do in terms of the tyres towards the end. But at the moment, lap 31, Verstappen from Norris. Gasly 7 seconds back, Russell closing at a rate of knots. We are having a few crashes today here at the Red Bull Ring. And Nick De Vries is the next one because Nick De Vries has just done this. He's done exactly the same as Yuki Tsunoda into turn 1. He's not happy. I'm sure the team aren't very happy. Once again, race is neutralized. We will, of course, now Max Verstappen choosing to pit. Very interesting decision for Max Verstappen to pit. He's going onto a set of soft compound tyres. He's going to get a cheap pit stop here. Now, we are expecting rain in a little while. I would expect that these tyres can go through the wet weather period. So we are not going to cover off Max Verstappen here. I'm quite happy that Verstappen has pit. He's going to come out behind Pierre Gasly as well. Whether that was the right decision or not, we shall see. We've got around another 10 laps. We shall see if that was the right decision. And we are back on lap 35 to green flag running. Now, this is very interesting. There's a 6-second gap to Pierre Gasly for Max Verstappen and then Lando Norris. Now, it'll be interesting to see if Red Bull swap their drivers round and allow Max through. It didn't make sense in my book to make that play. I'm quite comfortable where we are at this moment in time. If we can get to the wet weather period, which we're expecting may come a little bit sooner, it's something to bear in mind. But at the moment, P1 and P2 for Andretti Cadillac, P3 and P4 for the Red Bulls, but they are going to be closing quickly. But you know what? Pierre Gasly's Andretti might become rather wide. I mean, we've literally just got back to green flag running, and oh dear, Ferrari. What is going to happen into turn 1? 2 Ferraris, and they take each other out. That is not ideal at all, and I'm sure the Ferrari pit wall are chucking a few expletives in. I mean, look at this man here. He's seen it all before, Anti, bless him. But the Ferraris smash into each other, and we do have a yellow flag. It's not caused the safety car, but Andretti Cadillac still won too. George Russell has got past Pierre Gasly. He tried to make his car as wide as he possibly could, but couldn't quite do it. It was a lovely move, to be fair, by George Russell round the outside on the soft compounder tyre. Can't knock him for that. He's got past him, but now hopefully Pierre Gasly can stick with George Russell and maybe just overtaking once again. We are pushing on a lot of things here. We can see Max Verstappen's got immense amounts of grip at this moment in time, but Pierre Gasly really could do with staying in front of at least one of these Red Bulls, if not possibly two, and he is going to get DRS down this next DRS straight. So here goes Max Verstappen looking for the move. Will he be able to get past Pierre Gasly if Pierre Gasly stays in the DRS of George Russell? That is a crucial thing here for Pierre Gasly. I mean, we can see how close that Max Verstappen is to him in the run-up to turn 3. Is he going to manage to get the move done? He isn't, sorry. Pierre Gasly just about holding on. And it must be said, these soft compound tyres now of Russell and Verstappen, Verstappen's not the one that Verstappen is the one that would have wanted to get past Gasly early. But as we can see, George Russell now, he's fighting with Pierre Gasly all the way. And he's doing his teammate a solid here because he's keeping Max Verstappen at bay as Lando Norris is pushing on at the front. 3 minutes. It's going to start getting more and more cloudy. But Pierre Gasly, what a performance this is. Fighting 2 Red Bulls on soft compound tyres, and he's on used mediums. Lap 41, the resistance is finally broken, but it's got to be said, Pierre Gasly has been fantastic in that stint, and he's just held up Max Verstappen enough. We've now got a nice gap. You can see Lando Norris there trundling up towards turn 3. It's how quickly Verstappen will get past Russell. And now Pierre Gasly once again pushing on the back, and he's got the DRS wide open. Will Max Verstappen manage to get past his teammate, or will Pierre Gasly come back round the outside? Gasly's gone for it round the outside. He's giving it absolutely everything here. It's Pierre Gasly. He now got to sit behind his teammate. Russell is lapping a bit quicker, but now those medium tyres of of Norris's are going to start feeling a little bit better for Lando. 4.7 seconds is the gap. Last lap, a 106.2 for Norris. He's not catching him at the rate Russell now that he was before. So currently P1 for Norris, P4 for Gasly, but he's hanging on to the back of these Red Bulls. The rain has just started here at the Red Bull Ring, just as Max Verstappen was just trundling up to the back of Lando Norris. Those tyres of Verstappen's are now much better than the ones on Lando Norris's car. We are aware of that. But now it's all about getting this pit stop right. We've got 2 cars that we can pit equally. The Red Bulls, I would suggest, may have to double stack. So it's all about getting this right. I think we're going to be going straight to wet compound tyres on lap 46. Right, Verstappen's in, Russell's in, and Norris has stayed out for a little bit longer. We are going to go for the intermediate tyres, because we are seeing a lot of cars go onto them. Red Bulls are onto them. Both Red Bulls into the pits, and it is a big double stack for the Red Bull guys. Where is Pierre Gasly? Coming into the pits. Please make this a good one, boys. Pierre Gasly, he's waiting, he's held, but Pierre Gasly's out. It's a 3.1 second stop. He does come out behind both Red Bulls. Verstappen's into the pits. Lando Norris now is trundling round the pits. Did we get this right? Did we not? We weren't sure if we wanted to be on wets or inters. There's a few, everybody's gone onto intermediate tyres. So we'll come back when Lando Norris is into the pits. And into the pits is Lando Norris, but we are going to get to watch Pierre Gasly overtaking George Russell. Let's have a little look at what happens here. To be fair, he just goes through him, but we're not going to worry about that because that's helped us out massively. Pierre Gasly now on the inters doing everything right. Where is Lando Norris? Here he is, trundling down the pit lane. We are looking for a Red Bull of Max Verstappen. That is the crucial part here. Pierre Gasly. Oh, please make this be a good stop, boys. Into the pits. It's not a bad one. Where is Max Verstappen? He's coming around the final corner, but he's been held up behind a Mercedes of, I believe that's Esteban Ocon. Norris now coming out. Where is Max Verstappen? Verstappen's past him. He's into the lead. And now Lando Norris, he will have the better tyres, but he's got to make sure that he uses them now. Lap 48, it's Norris in P3, it's Gasly in P4. So all happening here, but Verstappen now has a nice lead, at the front. Now on lap 49, it's just got very, very interesting indeed, because we pit early with the Red Bulls. There's a lot of cars that's now going onto the wets. Will we need to pit again? This could be absolutely crucial to us here. We have got the option to pit again, and I would suggest, looking at the track map, we may need to. But Norris and Gasly now are both pushing on these tyres, and it's going to be such a battle towards the end. Do we pit? Do we stay out? That's the key. We have another crash on circuit, and this time it's the McLaren of Kevin Magnussen. And let's have a look at this with Alexander Albon. We've seen a few of these today, and that has not helped out. And it must be said, it's not been taken rather well. I think that was Kevin Magnussen doing the expletives there. But it's disappointing in the McLaren garage. What is not disappointing, Verstappen and Norris and Gasly are doing rather well here at the moment. It's just if we go to wets or not. I'm looking at the weather forecast. It might start to clear up towards the end. Is it worth coming in? Is it not? It's all about whether we stay out or we don't. Max Verstappen is in for the wet compounder tyre. We have chosen at the moment to stay out. We're going to keep an eye on what else happens. Max Verstappen, yes, in for the wet compounder tyre. Is it a decent stop? It certainly is. George Russell choosing not to pit, choosing to carry on. I mean, there's going to be a little bit more rain yet, but the track map shows it may come back to us towards the end. We'll keep an eye on what happens with the rest of the grid, but we've got a little bit of daylight towards Perez. We'll keep an eye on how this progresses. Lap 56, Perez is in to the pits. He's coming in for the wet compounder tyre. I'm tempted to leave Gasly out, and we might try a blocking job here. We've got 15 laps to go. Lap 60, it must be said, we didn't get the strategy call right. Max Verstappen has got past Pierre Gasly, and now he's got Lando Norris to battle with as well. Max Verstappen is going to win this race. He's made up that pit stop time ridiculously well. We're just making sure that we're covered off from Ocon and Perez, who are looking very strong at the moment. But Verstappen now is going to run away with it. I felt it was a gamble worth taking. Maybe it was the right decision, maybe it wasn't, but 10 laps to go. We have another big crash on circuit, and it's Max Verstappen. Let's have a little look what happens here. Max Verstappen into turn 1, catches the Williams. Now, is that going to mean damage for the Red Bull car? This could be absolutely crucial. Has Max Verstappen got damage? And if so, how bad is that damage? At the moment, I can't see any problems really with that Red Bull as he's negotiating traffic. You'll notice that it is brightening up a little bit here round the Red Bull ring. Maybe we are not out of this just yet. And with 7 laps to go, it's just changed back to damp track. So now it's time to push for both these Andretti cars. This is the moment we were waiting for. Now, can we reel back in Max Verstappen, who may have damage? This is the crucial part. Pierre Gasly's got George Russell behind him, who he needs to defend against, which we're going to tell him to always defend against. But Lando Norris, can he push on and catch Max Verstappen? And rather frustratingly, Pierre Gasly couldn't hold on to George Russell. And let's have a look, as this bike marker got in the way It certainly has. It's got out of the way of the Red Bull. It's got in the way of the Andretti Cadillac. And that is such a cruel blow to Pierre Gasly, who's now actually fighting with a Mercedes. That's absolutely shocking as well. Esteban Ocon, his former teammates, got past him. Norris has definitely got P2. But Esteban Ocon has managed to get past Pierre Gasly. That has been a shocking couple of laps for Pierre Gasly, who I'm sure will now be right on the bike of the Mercedes. I expect us to pass that car quite quickly. Pierre Gasly, he's back past Esteban Ocon up into P4. And I can't believe how well these wet compound tyres are hanging on, if I'm honest. But Pierre Gasly managing to get past him well. George Russell, it must be said, has been closing up to the back of Lando Norris. We think we may just have enough, but Max Verstappen is still doing 111s, even on the wet compounded tyre. So fair play to Max. We possibly could have pit. I felt it was worth the gamble, but the wet compound tyres now must surely be struggling. And look, we caught Max Verstappen by quite a bit. I wonder if we may get him towards the end. This is not over at all. And Pierre Gasly currently sat P4. I think he's pretty comfortable where he is. Could we catch Max Verstappen? It is the last lap of the Grand Prix. The gap has been cut to 1.9 seconds and Lando Norris is closing in on Max Verstappen at an absolute rate of knots. Can he possibly get past the Dutchman here on the final lap? He has got the car, he's got the tyres, he's catching him moment by moment. Max Verstappen's gamble to come in for the wet compound tyres, is it going to pay off? I'm not convinced it's going to. Just look at the closing speed of Lando Norris. It's down to under a second. Remember, he was 10 seconds back just 3 laps ago, and now Lando Norris on the final lap at the Red Bull Ring is giving it absolutely everything to get past this Red Bull. We've got aggression on high. Could he possibly get past him and win here in Austria? He's looking left and right. Is he going to make a dive down the inside into the double right-hander? He is. Lando Norris on the final lap of the Red Bull Ring is going to get past Max Verstappen and win the Austrian Grand Prix. What a win from Lando Norris. You will not see a better last few laps than that. I can't even speak on what a race that has been from start to finish. Lando Norris on the final lap, he had to close a 10-second gap when he went back to damp conditions, and he's done it, and that is why he's one special driver. Lando Norris wins in Austria. My word.
What a remarkable drive by Lando Norris today.
Incredible. That was a really well-deserved win. They got their race strategy absolutely spot on.
Pure elation there as the driver regroups with a team that worked so hard to see this moment. And after such a fabulous drive here today, it's no surprise to see this man land on the podium.
What an excellent way to take a second win of the season with a composed performance today.
Well, there were mountains to overcome here in Austria, but those 3 managed to climb to the top.
Mountains to overcome indeed, and my word, could you believe that last lap? Lando Norris wins the Austrian Grand Prix. Unbelievable. Max Verstappen P2, George Russell in P3, Pierre Gasly gets P4 in the end. He'll possibly be a little bit disappointed he didn't get on the podium, but I think we got a little bit unlucky in terms of the traffic. Ocon in P5, Perez P6, then comes Sainz, Zhou Guanyu, Albon and Valtteri Bottas make up the top 10. We did have 2 DNFs, Nick De Vries and Yuki Tsunoda. And we had plenty of crashes, plenty of incident, and plenty of excitement. Driver standings-wise, Lando Norris, 118 points now, 32 points, the highest scoring driver this weekend. Pierre Gasly is up into the top 10, 15 points for him, overtaking Théo Pourchaire, as he rightly should. Constructors standings-wise, Red Bull on 408, Ferrari on 169. We overtake Aston Martin, we're back onto 156. Red Bull only outscored us by 2 points. We are well in the fight for P2 in this championship, and my word, are we even in a title fight with Max Verstappen, with Lando Norris? Ladies and gentlemen, this series is the flagship series on my channel, and my word, are we enjoying it. Please do like and subscribe. There's going to be a show or something of that last lap because it deserves it, and I shall see you on the next one. Ta-ra.